Greetings and salutations. My name is Doriel Inez Larrier, and I am the host of the Lott Carey Women in Service Everywhere Digital Couch. Welcome to the June session of the Digital Couch. On behalf of Reverend Emmett L. Dunn, who is our Executive Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Jesse Williams, who is the President, Dr. James Victor, who is the first Vice President, Dr. Robert Scott, who is the second Vice President, and of the Women in Service Everywhere, to Reverend Dr. Brenda McBurrow, who is our President, Sister Lynette Richardson, who is the first Vice President, Minister Brenda Troy, who is the second Vice President, Reverend Brittany Domingo is the Youth Department leader, and Deacon Charles Monterio is the Men on Missions team leader. We welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us on this most auspicious occasion. Today, we are going to have a slightly different presentation this evening. Yes, we're still celebrating our 125th year of Women in Service Everywhere as the Women's Auxiliary of the Lott Carey Baptist Farm Mission Convention. But we're also going to highlight another group that is within our organization who's also celebrating a milestone year. Before I get into that, let me just do some housekeeping. This is June, and so you know that in the I put in the comments already the link for, there we go, the link for the registration. If you click on that link, which is lottcarey.org, you will go onto the website because our 128th annual session is coming up in August. And so we'd love to see you there. We'll be in Philadelphia, and we look forward to seeing you there. After that, it is also, because it's June, it's the end of the fiscal year. And so those people who were giving to the organization at large and also giving for smaller projects, June 30th is the end of the fiscal year. And so if you were going to make any contributions to the efforts for global missions, we would look forward to having you join us in that regard. Let's get to the conversation for tonight. I am so thrilled to be able to do some investigative reporting, if you will, ask a couple of questions and find out that not only is Lott Carey Wise celebrating the 125th year of celebration, but I happened to chat with a couple of people and found out that, guess what? There's a centennial celebration that is occurring, and it's occurring in the same year. And so I decided to invite, with, of course, the approval of our leadership, to invite a special group of women, and I want you to meet them and find out why their organization, within our organization, is also celebrating a milestone year. Please help me welcome Sister Sigrid Bruce, Sister Andrea Ross, and Lady Mary Wilson. Welcome, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. So this is, of course, a milestone year, yes, for Lott Carey Wise. But then again, I was asking around the way, if you will, a couple of people some questions and found out that there's another celebration that is happening as well. So, Sister Andrea Ross, why don't you introduce the group that's here today, and then we'll get into why this is a double celebration.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Ross, and I am the current president of WISE DC, Women in Service Everywhere. And with me this evening, we have Sister Sigrid Bruce, who is the immediate past president of WISE DC, and Sister Mary Wilson, who was a former president of WISE DC. And we're glad to be here with you this evening. Thank you.
Sister Sigrid, do you want to say a good evening, and then Sister Wilson?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are extremely anxious and glorious about celebrating our 100th year of having a WISE division here in Washington, D.C. We do a lot of good work for Lott Carey, and so we're very anxious to share with you what we've done over the years. Sister Mary?
There's a slight delay. Sister Mary will respond. Sister Mary, just introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Um, Good evening, everyone. I am Mary R. Wilson, and I served at the district branch as the 40th president, and I'm sorry, as the 14th president, and I am extremely happy to be present tonight.
All right, there. Oh, sorry. There we go. That's. We'll begin with that. We are working with a little bit of a delay, so we do appreciate the support in this work. So, what during a conversation that I had with a few people, and Sister Andrea Ross being one of them, I found out that there is a DC branch, which we're going to do a little bit of chatting about this evening, that is again celebrating its own milestone. It's celebrating 100 years within, again, Lott Carey Wise. And so I said, this is amazing. What kind of celebrations are occurring? And they're in the process of some recognition. And so I said, well, I think this is phenomenal to be able, prior to our convention, to have a bit of a conversation. And so that's what we decided to do during this session. So I want to bring a little bit of a, here we go. I want to bring, whoops. I want to bring a link to people. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, please, first of all, you know the protocol that we know to call. Please drop what church that you are representing in the chat so we can say hello and good evening to you, and then we'll get into this conversation. So I just dropped a link, and I'm actually going to put it up here. I would love for people to click on this link at your leisure. If you do it during this program, that's perfectly fine. So, Sister Sigrid. Thank you, Sister Jacqueline Kanan. Thank you, and Sister Lynette Richardson, who is our first vice president. She's representing as well. Sister Sigrid had sent this information. The Southern SBHLA is the Southern Baptist Historical Library and Archives. With this link, because I was looking for, I said, well, what kind of information do we have? What kind of, what was happening in 1925? If in this organization with the DC branch, we'll identify it for that at this moment, I was wondering what was happening 100 years ago. What was happening where a group of women decided that they were going to have their own local branch of the women's auxiliary to the organization. And I thought it was very fascinating. So of course I do my little deep dive and I'm trying to figure out what's happening in the world, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in the local area. And so to that end, I'll share about one or two pictures that was submitted, but we're going to actually hop into some questions in order to bring to light what was happening. So my first question is the origin and legacy of this particular branch. And so what inspired the formation of the district branch, which we now know as Lott Carey Wise DC, in 1925? And what role did the social, political, and spiritual climate of the 1920s play in its formation? Before you answer, now those people who are history buffs, some people know about like the suffragist movement. Some people know about voters' rights. Some people know about women's rights. And so I was definitely inspired to hear this information and its impact on the DC branch of Lott Carey Wise. Ladies, it's all of you.
Sister Wilson, are you going to start us off?
we're at question number 1. And I believe during that time, Sister Rebecca Bullock and others, to name a few, Sisters Alberta Randolph of DC, Leela Johnson of DC, Rebecca Duncan of Baltimore, A.E. Weeks of New Jersey, and C.B. Sessom of Rocky Mount. I believe that after attending and supporting the convention for many years under such dynamic leadership, preaching, faith in God, and commitment to Lott Carey, I believe that when the opportunity presented itself for the sure such exceptional forward to the district branch. And of course, all of the commitment and the energy, all of that is still embodied. Mr. Sigrid?
Okay, thank you, Sister Wilson. What a excellent spiritual backdrop for WISE DC. From the social scene of the 1920s, we've always heard the 20s known as the Roaring 20s. So, and it was also the Roaring 20s for Black Americans at that time. More Black Americans received college degrees, advanced degrees in the 1920s. And that was the begin, of course, of our social revolution. As far as Lott Carey goes, the social was the women of Lott Carey wanted to support Lott Carey headquarters and be a part of that organization and have some real commitment and real dedication. One of the things the corresponding secretary talked about in the secretary's briefing of 1923, he talked about having seasons of relationships and having the policy of cooperation, not just through men and women, but through all denominations, even though it was the Lott Carey Baptist Foreign Mission Society. He wanted to expand that to other denominations because it was a faith-based organization, but also for the socialness of being able to deal with the countries that Lott Carey were supporting at the time. If you would look at the Southern Baptist Library, we will see that during this time, Lott Carey was also supporting missions in Russia, Liberia, India, and there was one other country. But when I saw Russia, I was like, oh my goodness, Lott Carey in Russia.
Haiti.
So, Haiti. So these were the times, we were growing. And so I think the ladies wanted to be have their own distinct identity within the Lott Carey headquarters. So Andrea, tell us about the politicalness of those times.
During that time in the political scene, the women had just received the right to vote by the 19th Amendment of the Constitution back in the 1920s. So I believe that women were beginning to rise up and knew the rights that they need to have, and that the women decided to join with the Lott Carey Women's Auxiliary in the DC branch. They wanted to make their voices known as well, since DC is the premier, the social, the middle of everything that happened, all the happenings in DC. We wanted to be a part of that, so we wanted to make sure our voices were heard during that time. And although we got the right to vote in the 20s, we still faced a lot of challenges, but we were able to overcome the challenges that were made during that time period. As you know, they had to do poll taxes, and they had to do count beans in a bottle, especially for Black women. We went through a whole lot. It really wasn't until 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was passed, that we were able to put full steam ahead into the voting rights. But we've always backed the politics in the nation's capital, and they needed that groundwork in order to swell it into what we have today. Back to you, Doriel.
This definitely feels like investigative reporting. I feel like I have reporters on the scene, like, across the country. So, if anyone is, and this is from the chat, and so again, we are live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. If anyone has been able to look into that website, the Southern Baptist Historical Library and Archives, it is an incredible. Let's just say I went down the rabbit hole. I think for Black people in general, for Baptists, or no, religious folks in particular, Baptists specifically, and those within the Lott Carey Baptist Foreign Mission framework, you really should look at this website and click on the earliest rendition or the earliest iteration of these archives, because you will come up with some very, very eye-opening. And when I mean eye-opening and jaw-dropping information that is actually going to shift your mind about mission work and about the work that we do here in Lott Carey, but also the presence of people taking care of other people in other lands. I cannot say anything else until you see it. I cannot. When you see it, though, come back to this video, drop in the comments what you saw, and probably drop the link of the actual iteration, meaning the actual year of review that sort of opened your eyes. Again, I'm giving the teaser because I can't explain it to you. You have to see it yourself. All right. So that was that part. So let's get on to question 2. Let's get on. Oh, we have a comment. So I'm literally going to be reading the comments tonight, because I definitely want to have people to say, oh my goodness, Joriel, I went on and I looked at 1924 and 1900 and 1903 and I saw this and I read this. Trust me, your eyes will be open. So let's talk about leadership and legacy building. How did Alice E. Somerville and her peers model a unique kind of auxiliary leadership that both supported and innovated alongside the broader Lott Carey mission? For this question, we definitely have to unpack who Alice Somerville is. And those of you who are Lott Carey devotees, let's say, the Somerville name. So let's go into a little bit of the history. Who is Alice Somerville, and how does she show up and show out in this work?
Well, I'll start that part off. Alice Somerville was the wife of Dr. Wendell Somerville, and Dr. Somerville served as the Lott Carey Executive Secretary Treasurer for 55 years. He started in 1940 and he retired in 1995. And so she stood by him. She walked with him. She helped him. They raised children, not their own. They had no children of their own. They raised children of the countries that would come to D.C. and go to school, and they would stay with them. So she walked beside him each step of the way. And so that's who Alice Somerville was. A great wife to Dr. Somerville. Sister Wilson, you want to add to that?
Not only that, but Sister Somerville, they were married from 1924, September of 1924, and they were married for 73 happy years until the death of Dr. Somerville in 1997. She also served as the first General Secretary of the General Baptist State Convention. And excuse me, she traveled with the convention, and she traveled around the world. I remember hearing her saying that was truly the highlight of her, one of the highlights of her life. And she was a very, very personable person. And as Sister Andrea has stated, they did not have children of their own, but everyone to Lott Carey. And wherever she went, she provided a home away from home for many people. And for her great memory of her, we all remember, as I stated before, her smiling face, her warm hospitality, and her warm welcome and delicious home cooked meals. That will all Alice Somerville. Alice, I believe that by setting the priorities and exemplifying the faithfulness, commitment, and their strong belief in God and the leadership of the parent body, as well as being creative in order to raise the funds to send to headquarters for the various mission projects, whether they were foreign projects or they were home mission projects. The district branch just couldn't do enough, just like we are today. We just can't do enough to help support the missions projects within Lott Carey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone participating in this conversation. And if there are any questions from the chat, and I'm going to check, I can see on YouTube the questions here. I'll also check on Facebook to see if there are any questions or comments or observations. I'm going to always weigh in observations. I'll know that you did your homework if you represent certain information, because when you see the website, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we're going to talk about the next question. But before I get into that, I'm really, really thankful that Sister Andrea brought up the women getting the right to vote and, participating in the suffragist movement during that period of time. I always am reminded that the narrative that is used in mass media shows that there is, for lack of a better term, an us and a them. And the us would be those here who are living on this mainland that we now call the United States. And the them is realistically our cousins who are overseas. And not just overseas on the continent of Africa, but overseas in every other continent other than America. It would behoove us to remember that even though we may not have been over there literally, that our hearts and our minds were touched by Lott Carey. And so the work came here and, was given to us. And then the word, and then the hands and the feet, that which could move across the seas, was able to do so. What is amazing is how the narrative is, oh, they'll take care of them, or some people will take care of the them on other shores. But we literally were sitting right here, not just 128 years ago when the Lott Carey Baptist Farm Mission Convention was established and had its first convention 128 years ago, nor 125 years ago when the Women's Auxiliary of the Lott Carey Baptist Farm Mission Convention began, but 100 years ago when the DC branch of the Women's Auxiliary said, we want to be able to support as well. This to me is mind-blowing. Hopefully it's mind-blowing to other people. If you feel similarly, join us in this effort and continue to share this work. Now let's go over to some of the current mission work that then and now, meaning 100 years ago for the DC branch. What were some of the initial projects / programs that the women at that time said, this is how we can help? Are those programs and projects still occurring? What was the purpose behind them? And then what new projects or programs exist today and for which effort?
Okay, Doriel, I'll take on that one. The Lott Carey Wise DC and also the Women's Division District Branch participates in what we call an Easter End gathering. Sister Bullock started the Easter End gathering when she started the branch back in 1925, and she gave the first $100 towards the Easter End gathering. And we did the math the other night.
Right. Tell them how much is it?
$100 in 1925 was $1,200 and change. So for a Black woman to give $1,200 and change to an organization to raise money to help people in other countries, it's mind-blowing. These women made the sacrifice and gave their personal monies to start this organization. Now we ask churches for $100. So Andrea, we might need to up it for the churches and do singing. I'm just playing. But it's one of those things when you look at the times, we're not asking for any more than when our ancestors started this organization 100 years ago. We're still at 100. We've had no inflational moves. We're still at $100. So I just think, as time goes, the work has remained the same. The Bible tells us that the poor will be with us always. So the work has remained the same. Lott Carey has increased its footprint to more countries, and we're doing more types of missions than we did in the 1920s. We're now building wells, building empowerment centers, helping children go to college. We have several schools in different countries. So the educational piece is also there. Lott Carey Wise DC and Wise as a whole has an advocate piece now. As you know, in Wise, the national branch, we have the piece where we're helping women that are incarcerated and their return back, which is one of the things we have talked about at Wise DC. How could we effectively, help that cause? Again, mission work then and there. A lot of the churches stepped up and did different projects. We have the same thing now. Different churches are taking on different projects. Different churches have sister churches in countries. We know that Enon in Philadelphia has a church in South Africa. Maple Springs, we have a medical clinic in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
So the churches are taking on separate projects. And then there are other churches that also have projects. Those are just the two that come to mind right now. So if either of the other ladies have anything to add, you on mute, Andrea.
I just got tickled when you said about the $100 because that is so true. So that might be something we will have to look into. At least raise it since we got the tariffs coming in now. We might need to raise it to $150 or $200 if they can to help out to further our involvement in missions because we're doing locally and we're doing foreign missions as well.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Sister Mary, you want to throw anything in?
And also, yes, and also what I would like to add, the I know that the district branch is still, contributing, to the various projects, but within the convention, the women auxiliary would the women would send money in or donate money for the various projects, because I remember at one time they were asking for funds for wells, and they have asked for funds for sewing machines and desks and so forth. So I think that the women need to continue seeking ways or projects that they can help, both foreign and home mission. And one of our favorite project was and I think you guys will remember as well, when we were sewing the little dresses out of pillowcases. And I believe we sent them to Haiti. I believe that was the country at that time. So women has always used our creativity to do things to help promote Lott Carey. Back to you, Sister Doriel.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm actually trying to pull up the website so that I can do a little sort of point and click, but that point and click is going to have to come from our audience. So this is going to be a little digital audience participation. Think a game show. Even though it's not a game show, but it's going to sound like a game show. I'll have a point to this. Just work with me. So actually, let me just bring up a couple of people who are here. Thank you so much. All right, I see people have come in. So let's see. We'll start with Sister Jacqueline White from Canaan Baptist Church. Thank you so much for coming in. Sister Elizabeth from Maple, I guess it's Maple Baptist. Yes, thank you, Maple Springs Baptist Church. There we go. Sister Eleanor Cook from Rehoboth Baptist Church, Washington, D.C. Sister Carolyn Rogers from Martin Street Baptist Church in Raleigh. Of course, our president is joining us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Sister Reverend C. Knight, she was our monthly prayer call presenter this past the first of the month, which is on a Sunday. Sister Helen Lynch from Canaan, good evening. Excellent. And then Sister Lynette Richardson, our first vice president, is speaking of a rich history of a giving circle. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to move into our last question. I think it's our last question.
Two more.
Here we go. Bridging communities. So bridging communities. So how does the district branch connect women from different congregations, backgrounds, and ages into a united force for global missions and local impact?
In order for us to bridge that gap, which is what we're trying to do, it's going to take a lot of recruitment, because you think about what's going on back in 100 years ago, there's more things going on nowadays that will keep you from being involved in certain aspects of missions. So it's a matter of trying to recruit our young adults to try to get them involved in the mission process. And also, our meeting challenges. We had to, invite more churches in. It's not a small clique of churches. We just got to continue to broaden our horizon. We had to go out after the churches that have not been attending, and go after churches who are new and may have new pastors, to invite them in, to invite their women in to be a part of the Lott Carey Wise DC branch. And it's going to be a challenge going forward, but we know we can do it. We can overcome, because we can.
Yes, we can.
Sigrid?
One of the things I would like to add is we have to figure out the social media piece and how we can use social media to increase our footprint to get the younger generations involved. Because I look on, I do Facebook, and you see, they do what we call the flash mobs.
And also,
Go ahead, Lady Wilson.
Also, what we can do to help recruit the churches is to just go around and have like a group or a committee, the Lott Carey as well as the Women Auxiliary. And we can visit new churches as well. For some reason, kind of got delinquent, we can encourage them to come to Lott Carey.
I strongly agree. Before we have these conversations, because everyone, if you do not already know, people who are watching this, not my ladies here, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes of having these conversations, a lot of research, a lot of like deep dives. And so one of the questions that I asked prior to coming on is like, what's the why? Everyone always wants to know what's the why. My short story, that if you have started to look on the website, which I'm going to pull this up in a moment, is always thinking, who makes a decision to go across the waters in order to support and to help someone who's in need? And the narrative would show historically that even it was the countries and the lands that most of the people who are in Lott Carey Baptist Farm Mission Convention, who come to the convention, let me be clear, who come to the convention are of the African diaspora. We service countries in India, Oceania, which is Australia, Asia, Europe, Latin America, South America, the Caribbean, and Africa, and the United States. But most of the people who come to the convention are of the African diaspora. And so the narrative actually says that it's people, this is who gets promoted on television, the people who are not necessarily representatives of the lands that are supporting. So again, I'm thinking 100 years ago, there's a group of women in the DC area who says, they're related to us. They're connected to us. They are us. We are them. It's we. And so to have these women 100 years ago in the DC area to say, hey, we want to put our coins together, literally and figuratively. We want to put our energy, our efforts, whether it's baking the sweet potato pie, whether it's having the tea services, whether it's having the Easter
gathering.
The Easter gathering. And the other projects and programs in order to send money across the water. Why is it that we still have the idea that it's not us who's taking care of us? It is the us who's taking care of us. And this group right here, these ladies right here, they are part of us. So if we're trying to continue to purport the image that we are going to take care of us and we're going to take care of people who need support, that is the why. take care of us, because we're indoctrinated with, we take care of our family. It could be our family across the street, across the state. Our family is also across the waters. And in order to reach to the next generation, who some people will say they care about themselves, they are still caring about themselves by taking care of the people that they are around. I just had to drop that in there. If it hits you, it hits you. If it doesn't, it'll hit you later. That's okay. So let's look at our, I think we're up to our last question.
Mhm.
There we go. So it's the looking ahead as the branch, as the DC branch steps into its second century, because right now you're 100. What is the vision for continuing to empower women locally and globally to serve, advocate, and lead?
Basically, as we step into this next century, we're going to have to continue to recruit. We have to make ourselves more visible and let everybody know that, according to Acts 1:8, that we have to be witnesses both here in Jerusalem, in the uttermost parts of the world, but we have to start in our own neighborhood. And once we start in the neighborhood, then we go around to each other divisions that needs to be brought in. But we also need to be more, like I said, more visible. But we need to draw in mostly our younger people, because they're the ones going to be our future. They're the ones going to lead us into the future, into 200 years. But we need to get them involved in some kind of way. And I think we're doing that in some different ways. I know Maple Springs and I think Open Door, they are good at doing the food for the feed the I could call them the feed the children.
Kids Against Hunger.
Kids Against Hunger. I mean, that's a way you're getting our young people involved in missions. There's different ways to coordinate and get them more involved into the mission work, and invite them into things that, because they have ideas too. We just got to tap into their energy. And as Sigrid said earlier, the social media piece. I know a lot of us are on Facebook, but I know some of them got the WhatsApp and the Twitter and the X, all of that. So we're going to have to tap into that situation. And then again, as Ms. Wilson said earlier, we may have to get a group and go around to different churches and introduce ourselves and, platforms. Thankfully, I was invited to attend the DC Baptist Convention, and at which I was able to stand there and introduce myself as the newly president of the Lott Carey Women in Service Everywhere. So I got to get in touch with some of the pastors during that time, and to get the pastors to, give me their information so I know who to send information to invite their people to come out and join us on 4 Saturdays. So, Sigrid?
One of the things that we also have to look at too, as we go into this second century, is we have to be intentional with our giving. And what I mean by that is not just give the $2 here or the $5 over here, but we have to be intentional in giving gifts or donations that can make a difference. The $131 for the 31 days of prayer. That's an intentional gift that will make a difference. So I think we need to employ our members that we have now, and also any new members, but maybe come up with some intentional giving situations. Like First Vice President Richardson just said, employ the giving circles and make it intentional. And one of the things I do want to talk about is a few years ago, Sister Barbara Crump had a tea. And each person who came to the tea gave $100. Well, if you have 100 women to give $100, you raise $10,000. You just got to find the 100 women or the 200 women to give $50. And $10,000 is intentional giving. It's intentional. Have a project set up and have intentional giving. Sister Wilson?
Yes, because if you just like they did over 100 years ago, if they only gave $5, but if they gave that $5 on a monthly basis, you know that money is coming in. So just like Sigrid has said, we need to be intentional or committed so that we can count on your $100 during the Easter End gathering, or your $150 for the hospital for sick children. We need to know for a fact that you are committed to do that, and we can count that money in the money that we are going to turn over to headquarters. All of us just need to be more committed.
Hi, I just wanted to bring up a little slide that we sort of put together, and it's literally just probably like 2 or 3 slides, but I wanted to bring to light the original group. This original group was called the Lott Carey Women's Division or District Branch, right? And is now called Lott Carey Wise DC. History is a very important thing because our story erases the mystery, and the mystery is whatever the narrative that somebody else wants to think. Okay. On the right is the original headquarters, the original building. And just wanted to show that. Now, it is my understanding that this was the original building, but now the headquarters is now in a different building. If someone wants to shed light on that, please tell me where it is now, because not everybody lives in the DC area. So where is it now?
The new building is located in New Carrollton, Maryland. That's where it is now.
Yes.
So it's outside. It's right outside of DC, but that's where it is now. We moved from there to I Street twice. We went on 300 block of I Street, then we moved to 220 I Street, and then the headquarters moved to New Carrollton, Maryland.
Okay, thank you. And now I'm going to show. Let's see if I could do this. Okay. All right, I'm just going to go to the next slide. Whoops, here we go. So here we go. In 1925, it shouldn't be truncated like that. In 1925, there is in the proceedings, in the reports, I said, because I wanted to know what was happening 100 years ago. This is the notation or the acknowledgement of the Women's Auxiliary. And it says, as a strong and potent factor in our forward movement, let me mention with gracious commendation our Women's Auxiliary under the splendid leadership of Mrs. Randolph. Here she is cited. These good women are doing their bit nobly. I mention also with appreciation the juvenile department supervised by Mrs. Bullock. There's Mrs. Bullock's name. This new branch is destined to do great service in enlisting the young people in Christian service. History is an amazing thing. Anybody who delves in women's studies, Black studies, U.S. history, this primary source is a very, very interesting piece of information. I'm going to bring up the next one. Whoops, sorry. If I can get to it nicely. And it would let me. There we go. Now, this is rather tiny to see, but I'm actually just going to read the part at the bottom. I think this is the 23rd annual session. So this is around, if it's not 1920, it may be 1923. I think it's 1923. And so it says, it gives me supreme pleasure to speak of the splendid achievements of our Women's Auxiliary. In every report, in every annual session, there is, like it is today, a note or a section that pertains to the different branches. What I showed you before was the first iteration of the Women's Auxiliary. Here is about maybe 3 or 4 years later. So it gives me supreme pleasure to speak of the splendid achievement of our Women's Auxiliary, which is being done being done to aid the parent body in the, I think this is prosecution of its far-reaching plans. Mrs. Randolph, our good president, and her faithful associates deserve our sincere appreciation and encouragement. This is indeed a great day for women, or actually for woman. It actually says for woman, in the transformation of public sentiment with regard to women's relations to man and with regard to her social and civic status. The gospel of Christ has wrought a miracle of inconceivable magnitude. Compare the women of, now this is interesting, the women of heathen lands with the women of Christian America, and you will be forced to exclaim, what hath God wrought? I rejoice in woman's exaltation and progress, and most heartily welcome her, I think it's fate. I think it says fate. The broad field of public service, with the hope that her wonderful influence may be devoted solely for human uplift. Let the noble women who labor with us in the Lord receive from us due consideration, encouragement, and support. And may there continue to exist the eloquent and most harmonious relations between the auxiliary and the parent body. We must be one in work and plans. In this way only can we work and prosper. In union, there is strength. History is an amazing thing. I urge you all to go onto this site, and I'm going to put it in the chat again to take a look at some of the earliest recordings, the earliest notations of how the work of the women, and those of you who participated in the book study about 2 years ago, if it weren't for the women, read that and then look at some of these iterations. You'll be widely surprised. I'm very thankful for the work of these representatives here who are from the DC area, who decided to sit on our digital couch for this evening in order to share and to celebrate their centennial work. I'm excited. I'm thrilled to partner with you and to come alongside you in order to support your work in your area as you are part of our national body. I'm very, very, very excited. Any final words and thoughts from you ladies?
Just want to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to come on the digital couch for this month's session. And we appreciate all that you do as you go along throughout the year, as you do your digital couch. We appreciate you choosing us this month.
Amen. Thank you, Doriel, for having us. To my Sister Wilson, and Sister Andrea, thank you for joining me on the digital couch. This was a labor of love. To all the ladies that participated tonight in the chat and just signed on to see what was going on the digital couch, thank you, because this is how we get the word out, and this is how we can grow towards our future. So again, thanks to everyone who joined us tonight.
Lady Wilson, if you'd like to add, do you want to add something?
Yes, I just want to, as Sister Sigrid has said, I want to thank all of our sisters that join us and continue to join us on a monthly basis, as well as give us encouragement so that like Sister Doriel She's doing a wonderful job on this monthly chat that she has started. And let's continue to encourage her by tuning in. And I thank her. I thank Sister Andrea as our current president. And I thank Sister Sigrid for asking me to join in because I was president. I was like the 9th president. And I thought they had forgotten all about presidents back in the day, as they would say. So I am grateful that I was included. God bless you all.
Just before you take it back, L'Oreal, I just want to again thank Sigrid and Sister Mary for being on with me tonight. Because when you asked, that's the first thing I said was, we need Sigrid Bruce because she's immediate past president, and we need Sister Wilson because she's got the knowledge to help us out. So I appreciate everything that you do, and I want to invite those who are listening. If you're in the DC area,
bless you.
Feel free to come to our meetings on the 4th Saturdays of each month at 10 a.m. where we meeting at Maple Springs Baptist Church at 10 a.m. And we want to thank Maple Springs for opening their doors to allow us to have our meetings at their church every 4th Saturday at 10 a.m. Thank you. Back to the studio, L'Oreal.
I love you all, ladies. So before we hop off, once again, this labor of love, this literally, it really, really, really warms my heart because so many of our stories will not be able to be transferred generation to generation unless we have as early a representation of leadership in order to pass the torch, literally and figuratively. So Lady Wilson, God bless you. Thank you so much. Sister Sigrid Bruce, I've worked alongside you with Lady Wilson. That's how I got back into this about 12, 13 years ago. And Sister Andrea, thank you so much. Last thing I want to share is I actually want to share this. Can I get it? I think I can. Whoop. I want to show. Is it going to be nice to me? It is. It's not showing now. Well, one second. Here we go. There we go. I want people just to see this. Fabulous. Here we go. So I've just pulled it up. This is the link that I put in the chat. If you see, it's at Lott Carey Baptist Farmers Convention. This is the proceedings and reports. Let me move this up. But it is on the Southern Baptist Historical Library and Archives. Again, during this 5th year of doing this work, I want to bring more resources to people. So here's the convention, the proceedings and report from 1899 to 1940. God bless the people who did this work. There, you'll see the proceedings. If you click on each link of the proceedings, you'll see, and let's see if I can open one up. Fabulous. Here we go. Look at this. Now, if anybody has gone to the conventions, and I mean, when I say back in the day, I mean back in the day, and you have anybody in your church who is a historian or an archivist, and they have some of these proceedings, somebody had to stand there and actually, of course, just scan this in. This is from 1899. 1899. Right? And so they're talking about Bibles on the back and where to get the music. This is what is very interesting to me. Now, this is a die cut. Again, I'm not a historian, but I can read. This is a die cut image of, I think it's where Dr. Livingstone, those of you who know Dr. Livingstone is, where he transitioned, right? But I want to show you. Here is, I think this is in Cuba. It says scenes from Cuba, from the Home Mission Society. This literally is like the constitution of the first meeting. Incredible. Yes. Again, for people who are historians. It lists the officers, the constitutional amendments, rules of order, the proceedings, again, like who called what to order, what time, what they sang. I don't know where this hymnal is, but what they sang, who the preacher was, who what the points were, and all of these names who are listed I would definitely do some cross-checking to find out who, where the other members of these people's family are today, but that's just me. Some other very interesting images, and it was about 3 or 4 days, and so every single day, all the proceedings are there. Now I'm going to jump back and go to a report. Here's the first report. 1922. Well, the first report that they have listed. So this is 1922-23. And I'm just going to scroll down to about 2 or 3 pictures, which is what caught my eye. This is a report for the corresponding secretary of A.A. Graham. Now, this is sideways. There's no way I can turn this around. But it's a picture of the Lott Carey workers in Liberia. So whoever is from Liberia, this may be in archives as well. Or again, if you're a historian of your church, if you need information of why they got this started, click on this link, click on these reports, these proceedings, and just read. They are short reads because, again, some of these documents are maybe 20 pages, maybe 30, but it's also mostly half pictures, and some information is repetitive. So here's where I got a little caught off guard. So these images, I'm not really sure I can make this bigger. Let me see. I can. Here are some early photographs, again, 1922, 1923, of people that were supported in Liberia. It says the work in progress. And then there is an iteration of, it says, perhaps no people in all the world are suffering more for the name of Christ than the Baptists of Russia. I'm just going to leave that right there. Not really sure what that's about. But here is what sort of drew my soul. If you see what I see, just type in the chat. Just say, I see it. I must say that it got my heart for a minute. It stopped my heart for a minute. So underneath it says early arrivals in the mission school, Crew, Basa, Gola, and Pesi. So I'm presuming that these are the names of some of possibly the children in this work. And I must say now, if you're interested in signing off at this moment, that's fine. That's fine. But I have to say that I'm a little drawn by this, because what this says to me is, again, 100 years ago, we were recording the images that were seen or that were presented or that were provided, or prayerfully, it was people who actually did some of the traveling. And we were trying to record some of the work in progress of that we needed support of. So in order to, and I'm trying to bring this to today, when someone says, what is your why? Why do we participate in this organization? Why do we do the work that we do? Honestly, the first thing I thought was, and this is just Doriel, I was really taken aback. I almost want to find out if anybody else is taken aback. What I'm thankful for is that we are doing what we can to take care of our own. We're doing what we can to take care of our own. I'm going to pause there. If you need a why, let's take care of our own. Let's do our part. In essence, we've already been doing our part. DC branch has done our part. Thank you. Taken back. Thank you. See, I knew I wasn't. Thank you, BC Carter. The DC branch, they're doing their part. Everybody just do your part. Lott Carey, women in service everywhere, the women's auxiliary, we're doing our part. The parent body, the Lott Carey Baptist Farm Mission Convention, we're doing our part. Do your part. If it touches you, do your part. If it touches you, create a giving circle. If it touches you, share the information so that when people make their choices, where they're going to go travel, where they're going to go vacation, quote unquote, where they're going to go invest their money in order to see some sites, before you leave, Do your part.
What?
Do your part. Thank you, Sister Jacqueline White. The why, taking care of our own. Absolutely. Also, thank you for all for this journey into the history of YSDC. Looking forward to further perusing the SBHL archives. Yes, peruse. And Sister Helen Lynch, thank you. It's been some very interesting information that was shared. I really, really, really appreciate all that you all are doing. So please join us again every month, the first Thursday of every month. And we only have one more official session before we get into our annual session. Very excited about that. So if you have not registered, please make sure you go register. LottCarey.org. LottCarey.org. It's also in the show notes as well. And speak to your church, share with your people who may not have come in years past. Tell them to come on this time because it is our 128th annual session. It is the 125th celebration of the Women in Service Everywhere. And that's what we'll be talking about during the rest of this calendar year. And congratulations to the DC branch, to Lott Carey YSDC, for your 100th anniversary. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other comments and questions, please drop in the chat and we will be sure to get back to you. At this point, I want to say enjoy. Thank you, Lott Carey YSDC, and I'll see you in a moment. Stay right where you are, okay? To everyone else, once again, please join us. Come on over to LottCarey.org and register if your young people are interested in going to the youth session. I think it's called Disrupt. It's in about 2 weeks. Please have them join. And if not, we will see you July 1st. Whenever July 1st falls, we'll see you for the monthly prayer call. And then we will see you again for the digital couch, which will be on the first Thursday of July. We'll see you right here at 7 p.m. Peace and blessings. Have a great day. And we look forward to seeing you. Have a good day.